Excel and do well. Reminder listeners, you can call us live on the air. The phone number is 407-582-2906. You can also chat with us online through In Pursuit's Facebook live chat.
Coming up in this episode of the Intern Whisperer Live, end of semester, looking for internships? Sign up with Intern Pursuit or contact Isabella at internpursuit.tech. Our guest, Barron Mills, Executive Director with the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses, a.k.a. Fabob. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And retired U.S. Marine. Barron will share the mission and vision of Fabob and what a day working as an intern would be with Fabob.
So how can you find us on our social channels? You can find Intern Pursuit on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can find our Intern Pursuit game on Facebook and Twitter. And soon you're going to be able to find it on Steam. And we're really excited about that. So stay tuned, listeners. You can listen to us live on mixlr.com/Valencia College Radio. Follow Intern Whisperer. And watch us live on Facebook. And again, you can call us live on the air, 407-582-2906, and can chat with us online through Intern Pursuit's Facebook live chat.
Shout out to our first patron, Pixel Crawler. Pixel Crawler is a suite of tools that audits, monitors, and historically tracks the pixels implemented on your website. There are strong dependencies built on the consistency and accuracy of the data collected by tracking pixels, and Pixel Crawler will help ensure all data is being collected as intended. Their website is pixelcrawler.com. Thank you, Pixel Crawler, for being a patron of the Intern Whisperer.
All right. All right, so Intern Pursuit News, our website is live, our platform is live, and we had a student sign up, so we're celebrating. We're super excited about that. Yay, celebration. And we want to encourage more students to sign up. You can get matched with one of our great employers or with Intern Pursuit. You can go to our website, internpursuit.tech, and register now to get matched. You can also apply to be a student influencer or a brand ambassador. Go to our career page for that information. And we are inviting employers of all types and sizes to take part of our early adopter beta program. Contact me, Isabella, at internpursuit.tech if you want more information, or go to the website. So welcome, Barron. I'm so excited to have you on the show. This is super good.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Yep. And fun fact, I know this was not in our notes.
Mm-hmm.
Where did we meet? Do you remember?
Oh, shoot.
I know. I didn't prompt that either. And it was like at a startup event.
It's one of the normal things is we met once, and then within 2 weeks we saw each other 3 more times or something like that, probably.
Yeah, I know. It was like, but it was startup world. We were always in that entrepreneur.
Yeah, so it might have been ran into each other at the when the demo nights. No, it wasn't Fabob, but demo nights for the Starter Studio.
Yeah, I think so.
Program. It might have been. I know we saw each other soon after that at one of the Score Orlando.
In Orlando, Tech
events.
and Beer.
Yep.
All of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, all of those. But anyway. Back to our questions. Jonathan, kick us off.
All right. Why did you choose joining the military and specifically the Marines?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've never felt like I had a different choice growing up. So first, my dad was in the Army, so he spent 30 years. So I was born into it. As far as growing up on military installations, I crawled around tanks and helicopters and stuff, jeeps. That was part of just my childhood and everything. And then. But I had different aspirations. At one point, I wanted to be a gynecologist. I wanted to, drive a 18-wheeler across the country because of all our moves back and forth. That gave me that idea. I was going to be a nuclear scientist at one point and everything. And then 1986 happened, and I was, going from 6th to 7th grade, and like a lot of folks out there, Top Gun came out, and that movie just motivated me. And all of a sudden, I definitely was going to be a pilot. And so I went through the next few years in junior high and high school with a plan to be a pilot, and I actually had fixated on the Air Force and the F-16. And then found out I couldn't see well at the end of high school, so that at that time, LASIK, all this other stuff really didn't well, it existed, but it wasn't the rave it is now and stuff, and it certainly wasn't adopted by the military. So going into college, so first of all, I was one of the many academy rejects out there. I applied to Naval Academy and West Point and so forth, didn't get in. ended up going to the Virginia Military Institute instead because I still wanted a military type structure. And I tell you, it was one of the hardest decisions in my life, even though now it feels like should have been a no-brainer. But the day you're supposed to pick what ROTC class you're going to go into, I couldn't decide between Marines and Army, and I thought, hey, I think I know about the Army. I don't know about the Marines enough, and so I went that route, and I've never looked back. Everybody I dealt with who was a Marine was just the best I could look to learn from and emulate and so forth, and ended up getting a 2-year scholarship on the back end of my time in college and everything. So, and then I just got sold on being an infantry guy in the Marines too and everything. So that's kind of how I got into that path.
So where were you? I'm going off script, I know. But where did you go to college then?
Yeah, the Virginia Military Institute. So combination of reasons. One of them, of course, was it was a military college. That was kind of the atmosphere I was looking for. But I was
Do they have all branches there?
ROTC. Yeah.
Okay.
So you could Army, Air Force. So that's one of the schools. It's kind of like the Citadel. You have to take a ROTC class. You don't have to get a commission out of going. You don't have to join the military out of going to college there, but you have to take ROTC as one of your electives while you're there. So it forces. Besides the fact that your life is run kind of like the military, although it's definitely different rules than the real military. It immerses you in that and gets you exposed to it and so forth. And we definitely have a higher rate than most colleges as far as how many people join the military or commissioned. But I was in Virginia at the time. So it was an in-state school that always helps out for tuition costs. And then also my uncle had gone to VMI, and then I had a cousin that attended at the time. So all those little factors, weigh in.
So what was your degree?
So something completely unnecessary for the military, but chemistry. And the funny story on that is it was the easiest degree for me to get. Like if you asked me,
that sounds hard. I don't know about you guys.
If you asked me to take English, that wasn't going to happen. I don't mind reading books, but I hate trying to figure out what that poem or something was supposed to mean. If it doesn't stand out straight to me, then sometimes it's not
You're
what
a science guy.
Yeah, science and math and stuff. So I got my chemistry degree and completely forgot it all as soon as I got commissioned. It was just I didn't have to take more than 1 year of English. I didn't have to take any foreign languages as a chemistry student. So that fit what I didn't like doing.
Okay, but I have one other question before we go to this one. So forgive me. So did you do any tour overseas?
Yeah, I mean, I had so I had 5 official deployments, meaning I got a ribbon designation, and I had a kind of a 6th minor one to the Guantanamo Bay but I was only there for 6 weeks, so it didn't officially count.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I was in for 20 years, so if you're in the military for 20 years, you're going to go somewhere. You can do something.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had my brother is Army, and he's done the top secret stuff, and he's a warrant officer 5, so he flies, and he can't tell me about some of the stuff that he's done.
I've met people like that who 30 years ago they still can't tell you what it was because it's still classified, either because it demonstrated how we collected information or it was about a certain thing or person and so forth. But I joined in 1996 is when I got commissioned. So I straddled this pre 9/11 and post 9/11 era, which means really 2 completely different militaries. The 5 years before 9/11 happened was a different world than the 15 after 9/11 happened. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, sorry. Now.
Yeah. So you spent over 20 years in the military, you mentioned. What made you decide to make it your long-standing career?
So my dad did 30. I remember being in junior high, living in Idaho. We were in Twin Falls, Idaho, there's no military installation around there. And I used to think, how does anybody else make money? I don't understand how these other jobs are and stuff that people's parents have. My mom was a school teacher, my dad was a soldier, and so when I went to college to get it commissioned. I didn't go to college to figure out a career and I went to go get a commission so I could be an officer in the military. And my plan was to do 30 plus years. Only going 20 was actually a disappointment and stuff to some degree. So I had intentions all along. I remember having friends who at 4 years were like, I'm getting out, I'm going to join the FBI or get a regular, corporate job and stuff. And that didn't register with me. It's like, well, why did you even get in the first place? At the time, because really, the vast majority of the military only spends 4 years in uniform, and then they do that first contract and they move on to something else, and that's what we are. It's a very small, single digit percentage of individuals that go a full 20 or more years and actually great retirement.
Were your parents in the military? Any of you?
No.
Corey? No. So my dad was Air Force, and he was in the reserves. So he didn't sign up for the real stuff, but he was a pilot also. So I guess I guess you can be in the reserves and be a pilot?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Air National Guard and in the reserves, absolutely.
And he did do a tour of duty, and he was overseas. And so we moved a lot, not just because of that, but because of his career path. It was he was a mechanical engineer, and he worked in the defense sector. So there was an intersection there of where that military life, and it does overlap into that.
Yeah, so it's completely odd for me to know somebody or to meet somebody who doesn't know anybody else in the military in their lives. And so besides my dad, right? So I had ancestors going back to at least the Civil War that were in the military. My grandfather on my mom's side was in World War II in the Army over in India. Then my grandpa on my dad's side, he actually lost an eye when he was younger, so he couldn't serve. But he worked at Andrews Air Force Base his entire adult life, so tie there. And then I had a great aunt who was a colonel in the Air Force. I had another uncle who was retired.
And
colonel.
That was a woman that was in the Air Force?
Yeah, back in the...
That
well
sounds
before today.
amazing.
Yeah. She was definitely a unique woman. I had another uncle, my dad's brother, who was retired Army colonel. Another uncle married to my dad's sister, who was retired colonel at the Marine Corps. A cousin that was in the Army. The uncle that was drafted during Vietnam and so forth. So military in my family was just the norm.
It's deep.
So it's just that's just every day to me. Was having some.
Is that what you think your kids are going to do?
I'd be surprised. Maybe. I remember one of my commanders, one of the guys I worked for, he had no expectations. He didn't try to push it off for his son to join the military. And when we were in Iraq, he got a phone call, and his wife was telling him, "You won't believe this, but our son just joined the Marine Corps." And he was like, "You got to be kidding me." And he didn't stand in the way of it, but he never thought his son would do that. It's just you can lay out whatever plans you think you want to lay out for your kids, but they're going to hopefully choose their own path and stuff. But if you things you thought they may not have interest in, but if the seed was planted, 10 years before, they may come around to it again and stuff. Again, just things like that is wrestling. So I wrestled from junior high through senior year in high school. My first exposure was in 4th grade. My dad was a really good wrestler in high school, and he basically threw me in and said, "You're going to do this." I got my butt whooped that whole year, and I really hated wrestling because the only time I got a place was because there was only 3 of us wrestling, and I got a 3rd place, that way and stuff. But then fast forward, and I chose on my own to start wrestling again in junior high, and then I just kept doing it. I was never state champion or something like that. I could hold my own to some degree, but I had to be allowed to do what I chose to do. I think it's the same thing with our kids.
I think so.
We want to expose them to as much as we can, so they know what choices are out there, what options are out there. But just hope they make the best decisions, and do what they're talented at.
I agree.
You don't want somebody going to the military who doesn't want to be there.
Oh no, that's not a contract that you get out of easily. That one you're pretty much in there. So, what changes have you seen in the Marines, specifically Marines, from when you first joined to where it is now? What do you think of really dynamic innovation?
So one of the big things was the move from being a lot of things being analog to digital. So again, 1996, when I was going to the basic school, which is where it's a 6-month school that all Marine Corps officers go to learn the basics about being an officer in the Marine Corps and about how we fight and operate at the platoon level and how everything fits together across air, ground, and logistics and so forth. So the radios we were working with were called Prick 77s, and those were still, you turn the knob on it, and just 6 months later you're getting out to the operating forces, we call it, where you're actually with units that deploy, and we were using digital radios out there and so forth. So whether it was radios and more computers, so you didn't have a computer as a platoon commander when I came in. There were two computers in the entire company. Company's about 12 officers and a bunch of staff, non-commissioned officers, and then a bunch of NCOs and Marines. About 100 and or about 200 or so, maybe. So there were two computers in the entire company. These days, you got like 10 to 12 computers in the company.
Do you count phones? Because that's pretty
now,
much
now everybody has a phone and stuff. Yeah, like I didn't do email until about 4 years into the Marine Corps. Then all of a sudden, email was the rage, and everybody had to be on email doing stuff. So this big move from analog to digital, which I saw really in the first 4 to 5 years of my time in the Marine Corps, and then a lot of it's been brought on because of our operations post 9/11. But we just have more. We have more stuff now, right? So we put a lot more money into modernizing our weapons and our vehicles more, but we also gave ourselves more to wear, So most of your folks doing patrols on foot in Iraq or Afghanistan are wearing close to 90 pounds of equipment on their body. That doesn't matter if they're a 120-pound person or a 200-pound person. So that's a lot to put on you. And with that is we gave everybody more radios. So again, when I came in, we had night vision goggles. You had maybe 7 for your platoon. The platoon commander, platoon sergeant, squad leaders, a couple more people got a pair of night vision goggles. Nowadays, everybody has them, and so forth. So those have been some of the big changes. Just very digital focus now on how we communicate and share information, and then just a lot more equipment, good and bad, that is put in your hands.
Now, I don't know if this is a question that you can answer, but my brother doesn't use any type of social media. Is that something that when you're in the military, you're not allowed to use?
No, you're allowed to, but if you do certain things on there, it's going to be found out. I mean, so I just don't have a Facebook account myself. If people need to know what my family's up to, my wife can post on there and tell them what's going on and stuff. But there's plenty of service members that do have Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts. I mean, LinkedIn is definitely being pushed on people these days that you need to start preparing for what you're going to do after the military, whether that's in a year or 10 years, and creating a LinkedIn profile is one way to do that. But you're absolutely cautioned, and you can get in legal trouble if you post the wrong things, do the wrong things via social media.
Obviously, if you're disclosing like where you are, maybe
it could be that, or just be doing something that brings discredit to the military. I mean, that's definitely a thing that people didn't have to deal with, 20 years ago and stuff. And so there's, it's like a lot of things, the military law systems, constantly trying to catch up to what are the new ways for folks to do things
how they
wrong.
communicate and what they're doing and all of that stuff. Yeah, I get it.
Well, how did you personally handle the transition of your military career to an entrepreneurial environment?
Yeah, I'd say not well. All right, so meaning I'm still figuring out what the heck I'm going to be doing down the road here and so forth. So I do think I'm like a lot of military members who they don't realize how tough it can be to get it's not hard to get a job, really. It's hard to get a job you love, hard to get a job that fits who you are, and you feel that you fit into the right situation as well. And hopefully pay and all that good stuff aligns also. So a lot of us just think I gotta stay focused on being the service member until the last day, and then I'll figure this next thing afterwards. And then you realize how far behind you are on preparation, that you haven't met enough people outside the military. You haven't figured out how to tell your story about what you are and what you're capable of doing and so forth. So I basically lucked out as far as having something to do within weeks of getting out. So my original plan was first of all, I thought everybody knew how awesome I was, and apparently the word wasn't getting around. So I had to start learning that later. That even though a tight circle of people who work with me knew that I was very capable, that wasn't spreading around to everybody else. And just reading my resume didn't initially, bring that forward. But my thought was, and I came to Orlando in 2011, still a Marine, doing modeling and simulation training systems for the Marine Corps, which the UCF Research Park has a really good base there for Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force doing that kind of work, and exposed me to some actual real business principles because you're actually being held like project management and the rest of the world of schedule, cost, and performance. Right. So this model simulation thing really interested me, and so I thought as I was getting out to that, what I was going to do was get into the M&S PhD program that UCF has, and I started doing the legwork on that, and then as it got closer, I started realizing how poor PhD students typically are. I got a wife and 2 kids, and I like taking trips and that kind of stuff, and so I'm like, maybe this isn't right for me right now. And then really within a week of retiring, 3 people called me up. One of those turned into a job I took as a program manager. But 5 months into that, I was like, no, this is not where I'm going to be able to stay. And it wasn't the company I worked for. It was a little bit of who I was supporting, and just the fact that it really didn't leave me enough flexible room to go about things how I would. You're there to manage, not create and so forth. I like creating more. So I took it on to about 14 months. Got a successor in my place to take over and keep things going. And then that's around the time I would have run into Isabella too. And I just started putting myself out into Orlando, right? So I tell people, as a Marine, I had blinders on. There's 2 things I did. I was a Marine, and then I do stuff with my family. Mm-hmm. And that was, if you didn't fall in those 2 categories, then you weren't anything I was worried about. Right. And so even living here in Orlando, outside of going to some of the amusement parks and stuff for family time, I didn't know what was going on, even on the veteran scene side and stuff, because it had nothing to do with my job. So I didn't see any purpose in getting into it. And so it was, months into this first job I had as a program manager, I started thinking, well, let me get involved in Orlando and see what's going on, see where I can maybe be helpful or where the gaps are and stuff. And so I started both engaging on the business side, entrepreneur side, and then also on the veteran community side. And things, I like both of them, right? There's a lot of great people, problems to be solved. And so I've delved into that, and I've been, again, trying to figure out what's the landscape around Central Florida, and then how can I best insert myself into it. So I found myself now a few different advisory council or board memberships, and then it's actually a little bit of a long story also how I got involved with Fabob, but veterans, entrepreneurship, impact, those are things that Fabob is about. It's what I'm about, so it really fit well, and we just had to go through some different back and forth before it kind of fell into place earlier this year for me to come on as the executive director.
Well, continuing on the topic of Fabob, who you're the executive director of, can you describe the mission of Fabob and in what ways it assists veterans in their businesses?
Yeah, and I do want to make sure to clarify that we are focused on veteran-owned businesses, but you don't have to be a veteran or business owner to be involved with Fabob. But, we just feel that veteran-owned businesses, well, first of all, there are stats out there to show that they generally survive longer than non-veteran-owned businesses, and there's some great success stories out there across the country. FedEx was started by a veteran. Locally here, Harris Rosen with the Rosen hotels and stuff. He's a veteran. David Siegel with Westgate Resorts, veteran. Harvey Massey Services, veterans have done some pretty great things, and we want to encourage more veterans to do that as well. Whether we want to help provide them the impetus and show them that it's possible to start their own business, or they've already started something. We want to help them grow. We've got members who are just starting out or just have an idea. We've got others that have been successful for 10, 20 plus years, and they're either looking for new opportunities for their own company to grow or looking to give back in some way. You find so we got some people inside us, seem as like people know about SCORE Orlando and SCORE across the country. Individuals who have been successful running their own business or being in high levels within major corporations. And now they decided I want to spend my time giving back and helping others achieve the same thing. And so we've got people like that who are involved with us that they just want to get a chance to interact, see who's doing what, and see where they can lend a helping hand as well.
So I know that ties into the next question, which was, what do veterans who seek out Fabob often struggle with most when starting up their business? But then there's a part 2 to that one also, and how do you guys help overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so I definitely don't think it's just that these things just are attributable to veteran-owned businesses. I think it's all startups and
businesses,
entrepreneurs,
yeah.
right? And that's, I think part of it is focus. Like, what do I need to really spend my time on? One of the themes that keeps coming up, and people doing workshops out there, or they're getting coaching on it, which is a lot of people start businesses because they like doing something, and they end up becoming more of the best employee in their company instead of the CEO. And so that's one of it also is start showing them, hey, you need to step away and run a business by being an employee in your own business and so forth. And so I think that's some of the initial things is showing them that there are ways to get help out there. Some of those resources you got to pay for. Some of them are free to you. But I threw out there that what we do, and I just heard somebody mention it yesterday, that the CIA, I'd had it in a different order, but I'll go with CIA from now on, which is connect, inform, and advocate. Right? We want to connect business owners or supporters with other people that are like-minded, or could be a customer, client, partner, or connecting the resources that'll give them the access they need, whether it's capital for the next step in growth, or some coaching, mentoring, education. We want to inform, let them know some of those little lessons learned that other people have, or give them access to educational opportunities, and advocate. We want to make sure people understand the value that veteran businesses bring to the community, the economic impact that we veteran businesses generate. And so in order to do that, we got to make sure that we band together, and then that we, at the local and state level, that we're able to advocate with legislators, policymakers, to make sure that it's even playing field as possible, and that as many opportunities are in place as we can for our members.
All right, so we're going to go for a patron announcement.
All right. Artistry.io is a product customization tool for e-commerce stores that increase revenue, customer trust, and business efficiency. Artistry's robust product customizer allows business owners to sell personalized products in an existing e-commerce store and automate the processing of custom orders. The website is artistry.io. Thank you, artistry.io, for being a patron of the Intern Whisper Live. So going on to the questions, what qualities do you think someone in the armed forces has that makes them stand out as a business leader?
Yeah, I think there's a lot, but when I was going over these, before coming in here, one word got in my head and stuck there, and that's perspective, right? And you can lump a lot of things in there. It's perspective, meaning experience, and so forth. I talked a little bit about where I did five plus deployments in 20 years in the military. Most people do 4 years. In 4 years, you see and do a lot. And it doesn't matter if you're an administrative person, a communicator, or a pilot or infantry. You do and see a lot in 4 years. And it really gives you an appreciation for simple things in life, appreciation for America and how good things are here. I haven't done it in a while, but I used to always give my kids a talk, about how good their life is, because when I was 24 or so in Haiti, I was watching kids literally drinking water out of a puddle, and all bathing in dirty rivers and so forth. So we got it pretty good, and so I think seeing crazy stuff, seeing dumb stuff, seeing the best of people, seeing the worst of the world sometimes. These things. Within 4 years or so of military service, these are things you get exposed to, and I think it just gives you this incredible perspective on life, on stuff, so that when to prioritize things, or when to laugh things off, or when to realize something needs to be the most serious thing in the world right now, and to focus on that. So I really think that's a good way to phrase it, as perspective. But alongside with that, you got your discipline. You got people who good at planning.
Time management, I would think.
Yeah, get it done attitude, right? There's so many things that are put on your lap as a task in the military, and
Because you're always scanning. I know this from being around people in the military. They go, no, I want to sit here. I need to be able to see whatever is coming at me. So they want to be that protector in the room, I guess. But I think that was a physical reminder as to how I think people in the military are constantly surveying their surroundings. And so they're seeing things that I don't think that the rest of us do.
Yeah, well, I mean, so situational awareness, right? So you're training, anybody who's in infantry or combat arms, you're going to get heavy focus, even including pilots, you're going to get heavy focus on navigation. You need to know where you are in the world and where you're going to and the best way to get there and so forth, whether it's via road, going through the right terrain, finding a path, whatever the case is and stuff. So all these things that you get asked to do, usually with just a little bit of guidance, maybe a little external help, and then, hey, you got until this time to get it done. And I don't want to hear that you're not going to get it done. I'll be back, and it better be done. Or, I'll be listening on the radio for when it's done and so forth. Like, those are the challenges in a very general way that service members get. And so when you accomplish the things you accomplish in the military, that you go back and go, I can't believe we did that. Then, doing something in business is not as daunting, I don't think.
No, it's not. But
it shouldn't be.
The concept of military time versus the rest of the world time, that's like night and day. And somebody had said this, I don't think it's specific to a branch, but they said it's Navy time, which is 10 minutes before that actual time on your watch, So it's always about showing up early, being ready early, not waiting till last minute to get something done. And that's what I think I've encountered with everybody from the military.
So, when we talk about the transition, the biggest thing that we find that, I think there's some stats out there that say this is factual, but I have these discussions all the time, so I feel very confident in saying, and it's, when you're in the military, you're part of a team, and you're part of a purpose larger than yourself. And so, if you're doing business with a veteran, they understand that it's not about them. It's about you. It's about the team. It's about what the task ahead is and stuff. And so, we talk about subordinating ourselves to the task, to be a servant leader. So that's one of the things that veterans bring to the table all the time is realizing it's not about my pain or suffering, or it's about getting this job done because that's what I've been asked to do, or that's what the task ahead of me is.
I agree with that. That's one of the best things that I've experienced from people in the military. Are we up to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So why did you choose entrepreneurship as the main focus in helping your fellow veterans?
Right, it's the biggest way to make an impact. People can volunteer and so forth, but it ends up just being basically a hobby. If you some of the other podcasts or influencers I listen to, the one I listen to the most is, if you've heard of it, it's called The School of Greatness with this guy Lewis Howes, and he's got other people on there that I dive into, and one of those recently was this guy named Brendan Burchard. Then he also talked about Tony Robbins and stuff, and they both in their recent interviews brought forth talking about how you're not making an impact, you're just kind of having fun if you're not generating actual wealth to do something with. It's you're not going to make an impact unless you're actually creating opportunity for others and stuff. Creating jobs for others, creating education for others, and so forth. And so I think entrepreneurship is by far the biggest way to have an impact. It's nice to volunteer. I do a lot of that, but in the end, you need to create something that generates profits and wealth that can be then used for what you want to use it for, and so forth. That was, just to recap what I heard in this Tony Robbins interview, where he talked about how when he was like 11 or so, they couldn't even pay for Thanksgiving food, Thanksgiving Day meal. And then all these years later, he's able to pay for 100 million. His goal is 100 million people this year. Families he's going to pay for meals. And stuff. You can't do that unless you are an entrepreneur and you create something.
And you create something huge.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. So I don't know if you know how many members you have at Fabob, but how large of a presence does Fabob have here in Central Florida? And the question was it run entirely by veterans? Now, I'm a fan of Fabob. I did not serve in the military. I don't think you guys may not have known, but I'm a member of the group. I've been able to participate and serve with them. But it's just because my dad and my brother are in the military, so I am very passionate about veterans. And when I was in the public classroom and I was teaching, I would do a whole unit on patriotism. I had it built around the flag and, you know, how we show proper respect for the flag. What does the pledge mean? And then also the national anthem. I broke it down because I don't think that I taught 7th and 10th grade. I don't think kids understood it or really appreciated it. And so I built it as a whole unit that took a whole hour to go through and do that. And then I spent 3 weeks reinforcing that in the classroom. So what is the presence here of Fabob and all of that good stuff?
So right now we're just short of 200 members. We're on somewhere around 14, 16 months ago, they were only sitting about 66 members or so. So we've almost tripled roughly our size over less than a year and a half. And I think you're going to see us. I really do believe we're going to hit 1,000 or more next year with the way we're developing ourselves right now. So Orlando is the oldest and largest chapter right now, roughly 100 members. Space Coast is just over a year old with their chapter. They've got about 65 members right now. And then we've got another 24 almost outliers across the rest of the state. You know, people that we've brought in with the thinking that we'll be able to generate a new chapter in their area, or other individuals who just see the value in being a part of our organization, and so they've joined up. So we've got a few members down in Tampa and along the Fort Myers area. We've got a few more strung down from West Palm Beach to Miami. And then even got some over in the Pensacola area. I was just in Ocala last Thursday, meeting with about 10 veteran businesses there, and they've got another focus right now just for general support to veterans in the Ocala area. But we certainly think there's a good opportunity that by next summer we could have a chapter set up there. So we've already identified that Tampa is our next chapter stand up through first LinkedIn and then soon a little email. Activity. We're developing who our primary supporters there are, so we can bring them together and have a informational gathering. Make sure everybody understands what Fabob is right now, where we think we're going, because we got to have people who are willing to put the time in to run a chapter. You know, outside of me, Fabob is pure all volunteers, right? And those volunteers are all business owners. Self-employed individuals, and so their time is best applied usually to them developing their businesses. But they all realize that coming together as a veteran-owned business community makes us stronger and gives them better opportunities to grow their businesses as well by learning from other people, or again, developing new connections, partnerships, customers, and so forth. And so I've been on for a little over 4 months now as the executive director. And, hopefully we're going to develop a staff, paid staff over the next year and a half. And real quick, back to the question about, you don't have to be a veteran to join us. Or even we've got non-veterans who serve on our board. Now, everybody has usually some kind of connection to the veteran community, whether they're military spouse, their father or mother served, a sibling serves, or they just love the veteran community. Everybody's got some kind of tie-in, some reason why they want to specifically support veterans and business owners.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. What does a typical day look like for an intern at your organization?
Non-typical. I mean, so look again. I'm it right now as far as somebody day to day who's able to put their time into it, and so and I do have an office that I work from, thanks to one of our Fabob co-founders, Michael Wadrop, who's given me a spot in his building for Blue Cord Construction Design that he owns. An intern with us right now is purely working off of projects, I'll go ahead and jump ahead. You're going to ask me about Josh, one of our interns. So Josh's biggest lesson right now is probably working for a guy who can't decide what he wants done next, or keeps jumping around. We've got a lot of things that need to be done. marketing development, research that supports the marketing, as well as advocacy purposes. All that involves content development. We need to continue scoping out what our positions are, whether those are going to be part-time, full-time, future interns and so forth. So right now it is a scattering of needs, and any intern with us is going to, based off of what we think our highest needs are, plus what their greatest capabilities they bring are going to be aligned with those to really help keep developing what we need and how to fill that need.
Yeah, in the past, I was working with Trish, and so we've brought in marketing students to help with Fabob, and they've documented processes of how you guys load content into Facebook. But then there's also been the board manual that you guys have. And Trish said that she has doled that out to everybody, and everybody's supposed to be working on their sections of the board manual.
Yeah, Favob's...
That was an HR student.
Yeah, Favob's more than a few years old, but we feel like a startup right now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really because, when you're an all-volunteer organization, you're only going to be able to go so far.
Yeah.
And it's, again, now I've come on as executive director. It gives us a little more momentum, a little more opportunity. But it's, really restarting everything, refocusing, identifying our mission, our vision, our organizational structure. Going to make, really in the next coming months, going to make our first push to bring on annual trustees, to provide us most of the funding we're looking for to support our staff and so forth. So it really is an exciting time. I mean, it means that there's a lot that's not figured out.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
So that's one of the things that attracted me to this, as we talk about the entrepreneurship world. I mean, it's a lot of chaos involved there. And but that chaos means opportunity. Opportunity to learn things, make an impact on people. So that's why I like it. I got to make sure I'm focused sometimes on specifically Orlando and Space Coast, because that's where our primary base of members is, and so I got to make sure those members feel like they're getting value out of being members. But at the same time, in order to grow, I got to get out and visit the places. So I get a chance to go to Ocala or Tampa or Pensacola. I'm always. What's great is it's, you sometimes all you know is what's right in front of your face. You don't realize how awesome things are in other places.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the reason that I was in Ocala with these guys is because their economic partnership group there came to them and said, we want you to stand up a committee to support veterans. That usually it comes from the veteran community saying, why aren't we being represented? No, their community said, hey, why aren't you guys formed? And so they're figuring out how to do something. When I was in Pensacola and talking to one of the entrepreneurs out there, he said, so does everybody else have an awesome entrepreneurship ecosystem as us? And I was like, I don't know what you guys have here yet, so I don't know. But if you're making that statement, it means you got something here you think is pretty good. And so that's what I think is cool. I mean, one of the reasons I came with Fabob, or one of the things I kind of said to him was, look, the first word in your name is Florida. We need to be a Florida organization. And I really, think that this state has incredible opportunities. I see it all the time. I mean, you read about it in the news, but and one thing is it's a great place to live. I mean, you can't beat the weather. I don't think. Just a couple storms here and there to worry about every now and then. But just almost, outside of alpine skiing, almost every industry is here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's transportation, media, entertainment, space.
Simulation now.
Yeah, defense. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Hospitality and stuff. It's out there. And some places it's bigger than others, in Florida and so forth. One of the things that's happening right now, and I haven't seen it officially, so I'm not going to say it definitely has happened, but there's the three top populated states in the country for veterans are California, Texas, and Florida. Now, you can expect that with California and Texas because they got some of the largest military installations in the country, and so service members naturally just kind of spill outside of the last base they're on, instead of residents there and so forth. There's some good military footprints here in Florida, but nowhere close to the same size. And so, but Florida is the third largest, although I've heard we've already taken over Texas for second, and if not, it's going to be sometime soon. That shows I think the opportunity that veterans are seeing here in this state. And certainly we hope with Fabob that we'll
Yeah.
show more of them that maybe the opportunity they're looking for is by owning their own business.
Just jump to the last question there, because he answered your question.
Yeah.
What is the website for Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses so our listeners can find it?
Yeah, so as Jonathan said before, Fabob is how we say our name most of the time, FAVOB. So you can go to favob.org, and that's going to be the main site. That's going to get you mainly what Orlando's up to. You can also go to spacecoastfavob.org and see the Space Coast chapter, and then both chapters. And again, Orlando also encompasses Fabob at large. Both are on Facebook, so just go look at Fabob or Space Coast Fabob. And then you can also find us on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my social media time is on LinkedIn. So just type in Fabob. I got the acronym in there, so it pops right up, and you'll see a lot of things that are going on. We announce a lot of our events. We talk about some of the opportunities around the state, highlight some success stories and so forth. So that's the best place to find us right now.
So we're transition. So thanks to Valencia College for allowing us to be on the campus. Thank you, Q. He came in here and he told us good news. We're going to be switching over from MixLR to Valencia College Radio. And we appreciate being able to be in this studio and having all of these great people in the school to work with. Let's do our shout-outs. Jonathan.
Shout out my family and, of course, you guys for being here and our guest. Thank you for being here.
Shout out to my sister who's hopefully listening.
Oh, well, we have somebody. Yeah. Okay, Barron, your turn.
Sure. My family, wife Kristen, son Braden, daughter Cassidy, they loved hearing the names on there, I'm sure. All the Fabob members, hopefully, that are out there, they're going to listen to this. And all the future Fabob members as well. Shout out to you. And then Marines in the area, two organizations I'm involved with are Central Florida Marine Corps Foundation and the 1st Marine Division Association. So hopefully those guys are listening. And then finally, my big hook into the veterans in the Orlando area is through Veterans Beer Club Orlando.
All right. And so my shout out goes to everybody on the Intern Pursuit team. Corey over here for making these awesome little teasers that are going to be going out on our social channel so people can find our shows on the podcast. And to you guys across the room, and then also to our listeners and our guests. So thank you. So how can you find Intern Pursuit? You can find us at internpursuit.tech. You can email us at info@ same acronym there at the end, not acronym, but domain. And then you can watch us live on Facebook. You can check out our Twitter. You can listen to us live on mixlr.com, soon to switch to Valencia College Radio. And then you can also listen to us and watch us on Facebook. So as we close the show, we want to tell you thank you to all of our listeners. Bye-bye.